throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing, is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face that I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Tuesday. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a little sports nonsense and whiskey. Hanging with the boys. Come hang out with us for a little bit. We got a big rundown. Pinky, Robert, how we doing this evening, fellas?
It's excellent. I just spent my last 45 minutes, and that's why I'm just joining you all, so I'm sorry. I've been talking to a couple multimillionaire about F1 races and some of his things and like that, so it's been a very interesting evening for me that I didn't anticipate. It's been excellent, and there's so much nerd to talk about, so I'm excited for the end of the show.
Like it? Pinky, how we doing this evening?
Well, I could do without Robert screaming in the microphone, but other than that, I'm doing
it's
good.
Tuesday! Pinky, it's been a day.
I appreciate you. You got to bring the positivity. I broke the cardinal rule. I took a nap, and I'm not doing well. So
Pinky's struggling this evening.
Pinky's old. Just kidding. Pinky, you got to work on that energy factor, my man.
Yeah, we'll see how he comes along as the evening progresses. There might have to be a couple pokes tonight.
Hold on.
Slightly, just a couple, just a few.
I am up past 11 every night recently. And I'm up at 5 a.m. So I'm the limited sleep. I need some time. I just need some time.
Sounds like my day to day. So buck up, Buttercup.
I need my beauty. Obviously, I need my beauty rest, guys.
Figure it out.
So yeah, let's see how Pinky handles the evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Caleb, I got you. I've got so many topics for us tonight. It's not even funny.
Let's do this. So here's the rundown, ladies and gentlemen. Like we said last week, we're doing an hour and a half. Okay, hour and a half. First section's all our sports. That back half is our nonsense. What I will tell you about this evening, we're going to run down March Madness. We are going to run down 2 NBA topics. And we are going to discuss a little F1 and some NFL. From there, we're moving into some nonsense, and Robert's got some strong topics, some issues possibly he's feeling potentially coming with the new Avengers and things of that nature. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So stick with us. Jump in later if you want to. Jump in, whatever you got to do. Come hang out. Get yourself a drink and come sit down. So with that being said, it's March Madness, the greatest sporting event in all the lands. The World Cup is close, okay? The Super Bowl is always big. You got the NBA Finals. You've got, the Champions League. You've got UEFA championships. There's a lot out there. But for my money, nothing compares to March Madness. When that field of 64 hits and you start talking Cinderella, special things are about to happen. And you do not get these kinds of storylines or built-in Hollywood level drama from natural events like you do the NCAA tournament.
Let's just call it like it is, Caleb. It is the best 4 days of drinking that we can ever do. Like,
I mean, if you're a drinker, sure. Yeah, it's gonna. You'll power through that way, no doubt.
That I don't know about that, Mr.
Look,
Pinky.
I get 4 days in a row of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. basketball.
Do you have any idea what happens when the World Cup goes on, motherfuckers? Like, as soon as that...
Wow.
Very aware of what the World Cup is.
Russia,
putting us at X rating early. Ooh.
Hey, when it was in Russia, it didn't matter. Germany played at 4 a.m. You know what I'm doing at 4 a.m.? Schnapps, German beer through the utmost extent, and it's not even, like, daylight. So that's amateur hour. Period.
I mean, you sound like a sports fan, so congratulations. You're finally welcomed into the party.
Listen, just because we don't talk about the sports that you all are passionate about doesn't mean I'm not a sports fanatic. I put myself through the ringer, not just this last weekend with F1, which we're getting to. Boy, do I have a story for you all on that.
Hey, I'm just
We're
saying,
getting there.
Being up to watch your team at any hour of the day and drinking is what sports fans do.
My ex-wife found that out in the second year, and she's like, "You're insane." I'm like, "You don't understand dedication."
She just doesn't have a true passion. That's the problem.
Well, that's a different story for not on this podcast, but yes.
I mean, I'm just saying. Look, I got people all the time telling me, like, making jokes at work. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. I could use a drink. Ha ha ha. But nobody does that. I'm like, yeah, they definitely do. It's called tailgating. And I do it on a regular basis. And you can judge me all you want. And I don't care.
Look, I love a good Bloody Mary, boys. Love it. Throw it in. Throw a little Tabasco in that bad boy. Let's roll.
That's the drink for the week.
Oh, you've never had a good Bloody Mary then, sir.
I've been around the world.
Dude, then you've never had it. I'm sorry. If to say that means you've never had a Bloody Mary done properly is a full course breakfast.
No.
Absolutely.
It doesn't encompass everything. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
Again, you've never had a proper Bloody Mary.
Hey.
You didn't have one that came with all the accoutrements stacked on top of it that go
I've
with
had
the wonderful
all the
beverage.
accoutrements. You don't even know.
I'm sorry. For you to
I've
say
had
such
them
a thing,
all.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not the island guy right now.
Cheers. I mean, again, and vodka is really easy to get started with. So that's where that's why the Bloody Mary is just like the perfect thing for the morning.
The only time I'll drink vodka.
I'll do some mimosas. I'll do some mimosas too. But you know,
well, who doesn't love a good mimosa? I mean, come on. If I offer somebody a mimosa and they say that's gross, we're not hanging out anymore. That's a real easy decision.
Absolutely.
Unless you tell me like orange juice is going to kill you, like then I'm going to look at you side-eyed and then just hand you another, juice to pour with your champagne, and then we're just going to keep moving on.
All right, let's get into it, boys.
All right, let's do this. So, look, I do not believe the playing games are part of the tournament. I don't care what anybody says. It's not a field of 68. It is a field of 64. Period. Done. End of story. However, March Madness did begin tonight about an hour ago because Alabama Southern and St. Francis played in 16 versus 16 to get in for that final 16 spot. The game ended on a last-second layup. And Alabama Southern had to throw a full-court pass, got tipped about 3 times, ended up in one of their players' hands right under the basket, and he lays it up with 0.7 seconds left in the game. That is the epitome of March Madness. So while I don't think it's part of the tournament, it sure started a little bit earlier than I would normally consider. North Carolina and San Diego State are playing right now. North Carolina's up 5 with 11 minutes left in the first half. That will be the second of the 2 playing games today. We'll have 2 more tomorrow. Oh, it's Alabama State. Sorry, not Alabama Southern. My bad. Alabama State. Then you got 2 more games tomorrow. So it's just going to keep going, right? Thursday, though, is when it kicks off. 10 a.m. You get 2 sides of the bracket. Friday, 10 a.m. You get the other 2 sides of the bracket. Okay? Saturday, Sunday, same thing until we get down to 32. And then we get to 16. And then next week, the 16 starts. This weekend is huge. This is where you usually see the matchups, the upsets, the Cinderella stories begin, the guy to watch for the tournament, who becomes the darling, right? So all that being said, I'll start with North Carolina and everybody talking about how they did not deserve to be in the tournament. And they're all basing that strictly off of what they call quad 1 wins.
But they're not in the tournament.
Wins are basically the upper echelon of teams in the country, how you played them and how you fared, right? North Carolina was 1-9. I believe West Virginia was 4-10 or 4-9 or something like that. They were better, but not much better. So people want to bring that up a lot. That stat seems to be the big one I keep hearing of why North Carolina doesn't deserve to be in. But there's these ranking. Huh?
They're not in.
North Carolina? Well,
plan.
Technically they're in the tournament. The tournament is technically now. Whether I consider it or not, this is the tournament. So they're in.
You just said that they're not in because the round of 68 doesn't really count. It's 64. So they're not in yet.
That's how I feel. But the tournament states now that there's 68 teams. They were invited in. They're playing right now.
They're not in.
They're in the field. I don't know what to tell you.
They're not in.
People thought West Virginia should have been in over them. That was the big one. But there is this ranking that everybody likes to rely on year in and year out. It's called the Ken Palm. And this takes all these different metrics, the quad 1 wins, your record, your strength of schedule, all of these things. And it compiles them into a ranking system. Think the old BCS computer rankings. Very similar in those regards. Ken Palm, guess where they have UNC ranked? 33rd. Guess where West Virginia is ranked? 53rd. They're not even close. They're not even in the same ballpark. So you can take all these metrics you want to argue one way or the other. But I said it from the very beginning. Yes, I'm a North Carolina fan. Even I was a little surprised they got in. But I said winning on Thursday night and then almost beating Duke on Friday night is what got them in, I believe. Those 2 games. Now, granted, they played Duke without Cooper Flagg, but they're a toenail away from possibly tying the game on a free throw and then going to overtime. I think the committee looked highly on that. I also think having I think it's 22-13 is Carolina's record, and West Virginia was like 19-13. So Carolina's got a couple extra wins. You know, there's things that matter and go into this. So I believe this year there wasn't really a snub. That's truly what I believe, regardless of whether or not I like North Carolina as a fan or not. I don't really think there was a snub. I do believe, though, there were some very interesting rankings within this. And the biggest one would probably be Louisville. Now, Louisville is an 8 seed or a 9 seed. I believe it's an 8 seed. They were ranked in the top 10 in the country in the polls when the season ended. How do you go from top 10 in the country ranked to being an 8 seed, which is basically calling you 32-ish, 32 to 36, somewhere in those ballparks of where the committee decided you were ranked, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. You know, there are a few others out there that people weren't exactly happy with, but I think the 2 biggest things I heard this entire time were Louisville's ranking
Robert,
and North Carolina getting in.
pick your head up, Robert.
I apologize. I was having some audio issues. I've been trying to fix it. What was the answer? Sorry, what was the question?
No, you just your head movements were not appropriate on this show, sir.
No, I apologize. I was getting frustrated with my technology because it's not working, and I just got it reconnected. So I'm sorry.
When you play this back, you'll see what I mean.
I'm sure. I'm sure, and that's fine. I'll own it.
It looks
It's
like
okay.
you had a really good song playing too.
That's okay. I mean, hey, with 5.1 surround sound, what can you do?
So
But
let's go
that's
that
not the
route.
point.
I know a lot of people have Florida as the favorite going into the tournament with the way they ended the season and the way they rolled through the SEC tournament. I personally believe the SEC is a little overrated. I don't think it's any different than football. Everybody wants to talk a big game about the SEC and football. What happened come bowl game season, Pinky?
I mean, SEC got dominated.
They got smoked for the most part. I don't think the basketball is going to be that much different, to be perfectly honest with you. I think they are a good conference. I do not think they're as good as everybody wants to believe. I do not think they're as good as this record-setting 14 teams getting into the tournament, which has never happened before. Record-wise, I'm not mad that they got 14 and based on what they've got, but I don't think they're that strong of a conference to elevate all these teams as much as everybody has. So I do not think Florida, I don't even have Florida going to the Final Four, actually. And I do think Duke is still the favorite. I don't care what anybody says. I've been telling you to keep an eye on Cooper Flagg for the last 3 years. The dude comes into college and goes to Duke and was the best player on a really damn good team and was the best player in the country. And if he's truly going to be healthy and there's not going to be any lingering ankle issues from that sprain, I don't see how anybody beats Duke, to be perfectly honest with you, regardless of the 4 freshmen they're rolling out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Auburn's looking pretty good still. Alabama doesn't look too bad. You've got St. John's looking good. You've got, why am I drawing a blank?
Michigan State.
With me. Huh?
Oh, green! Let's go,
Michigan
Sparty!
State is looking good.
Tomorrow, I believe it's on Friday at 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 10 o'clock Eastern, if I'm not mistaken.
Houston. I apologize, Houston. I don't know how I was drawing a blank on you. Houston is the other one that I actually think I would have right behind Duke. Kelvin Sampson has had that team rolling the last 3 years, roughly. And when they show up into the tournament, they're playing really good ball. They might not have quite the shooters or the offense they've had in years past, but they have a crazy good defense that can get after you, and they love to run. And they've got guys who can go up and down. They're not bad shooting by any means. They got some shooters. I just don't think coming into this tournament, maybe they're not considered as offensively potent as maybe they have been in the past. But I think they make up for any of those deficiencies on the defensive end. Houston, I think people are overlooking. They are a 1 seed. It's crazy to say they're being overlooked. But I do feel like nationally, people aren't really talking about them the way they should. So keep an eye on Houston. St. John's is the team I think would beat Florida. It's one of those things where we talked about Tom Izzo in the tournament. And nobody wants to see a Michigan State Tom Izzo team in the tournament when that starts. It's just the way it is. I mean, is Rick Pitino the same? That dude's a living legend. He has taken 6 programs to the NCAA tournament. That's crazy. That is absolutely absurd. The dude knows how to win. He knows how to build programs, and he's got St. John's as a 2 seed. Do not sleep on St. John's as this tournament gets rolling because of Rick Pitino and what he's able to do for that team situationally when the time comes.
No doubt.
So all that being said, I still think Duke is the favorite. This tournament, though, as a whole, I believe is one of the more wide open tournaments we've seen in recent memory. And I say that because you've got teams like Louisville at 8, which is absurd. I just told you they're a top 10 ranked team in the country. I've talked to you about Creighton before. I told you to keep an eye out them in the Big Ten tournament. They could make a run. They could get past UConn. They did, and then they lost to St. John's. Kind of got blown out by the end of the game. It was basically tied at halftime. but they had just gone 3 days in a row playing and coming off of a double overtime game. So Creighton's legs were probably gone by the time they played St. John's, but I told you they played them close twice in the season. It was close for the first half. That's another team. They're ranked 9, I believe, is Creighton's seed is 9. So the reason I'm bringing Creighton up is because I told you to keep an eye on them. They could be dangerous come tournament time. They have been the last couple of years. And that whole bottom half of the bracket, you could see some really competitive teams still that other years you might think, it's a 9, 10, 11 seed. Like, I'm not – one of these is going to upset somebody, but, it's not really going to be close. This year, the bottom half of the bracket is not that far away from the top half outside of, some of those 1 and 2 seeds. But you start looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, you start looking at, 10, 11, 12, there's not a whole lot of difference separating them this year in my mind. I believe this could be one of the most exciting tournaments we've seen in a very long time because I believe the field as a whole is a lot more equal than maybe years past. So that's probably one of the things I'm most excited about because the tournament always gives us good games, but when you get quality competition on top of Cinderella stories, on top of finishes and things of that nature, come on, let's do this. Let's go. Thursday can't start soon enough.
Yeah, I'm not excited because Kansas is going to lose in the first round. So
damn straight, son.
That might happen.
Eat a dick, Robert.
That might happen, Pinky.
I know. Robert eating a dick will happen.
Hey, it's also happened. It could happen to Michigan State.
I think Michigan State will get to the round of 16.
Michigan State has a lot of happenings for themselves. However, as you and I and Caleb both well know, getting ahead of yourselves is the biggest demise of any sports team. And with where Michigan stands right now and a lot of the stats, or Michigan State, excuse me, where a lot of the stats that they have been putting out right now is very evident with the Big Ten championship and their loss and not get in the semifinals.
If Michigan State doesn't get out of the first 2 rounds, it will be an epic disaster.
So
epic disaster.
And to grow off of this, I also put this in one of our, I forget which group chat it was, but there is another big popular podcast out there that right now that has a very microscopic view of it, of Michigan State actually winning the tournament. And that's a little far out of reach for me, just personally.
They're a 2 seed. I don't hate that at all.
Again, they're a 2 seed, and if you really break apart the last 30 days of college basketball, Michigan State is probably the superior team. Not to put Duke at any
no, sir, no.
But
no.
Michigan State has been on top.
They've been good. They're not better than Duke. Don't
look at the stats, Caleb. Michigan State has been the best basketball team.
Robert, here's the kicker, though. I'll educate you a little bit here and help you learn a little bit on your path to growth. Looking at stats in college basketball, if you're going to look at points per game scored, points per game allowed, offensive efficiency, shooting percent, there's so many things you can look at. But they vary from conference to conference. You cannot compare them from one conference to the next because each conference has I will call it, very specific style of play.
It's a niche. It is an absolute niche. And that is what makes this basketball tournament probably one of the most entertaining out of any sports broadcast games, because the intensity, the matter of play, and where you come from as a conference matters. CSU's made 3 of the last 4 NCAA tournaments, which as our home state is a massive testament for what we can do. And to broaden this nationwide it really opens up the perspective of what the tournament does. And the fact that, and I know it's been a point of contention on our cast before about how many teams get into the tournament. And with looking at it in that aspect, there's too many teams that really leave that up to chance. And that's all that it is it's a World Cup on a basketball stadium, collegiately. Not professionally, collegiately. Amateurs. This is a win all or lose all. You're the best team. And that's what makes this tournament and these aspects so entertaining.
Facts,
Because
my good man.
UNC could get in, as they did, and come in and end up in the Final Four. As we well know, they probably can do. And on top of that, Michigan State has, again, proven, not just in their division, or conference, I should say, but nationally, have been
well said.
undefeated since Thanksgiving. These are the things that I look at going into the tournament. But again, using my favorite sports tournament of all time, no one anticipated Germany to win the 2014 World Cup. It was Brazil's.
Sure.
It was Brazil's cup to lose, and it happened. And this tournament this year is, I think, in the last 3 years, maybe 4, probably has the most, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Because Duke suffered injuries. Michigan State lost in the Big Ten tournament. Not to mention the Big 12 and the SEC and their problems in their basketball tournaments. It's really anybody's tournament right now. There is no clear adversary to overtake this.
Hey, you agree with Caleb? That's what he said.
And I love Michigan State. I love my boys. I love my Spartans. And Tom Izzo is very strong. However, there are too many unknown abilities, if you will, that haven't been put to test. And this tournament, I think, is going to really show that.
I hope so. I'm going to footnote myself, correct myself. It's not really a correction, but I totally forgot about this. And as I'm looking at the brackets, just making sure I didn't miss anything I wanted to discuss, it was glaring right in my face. So I apologize that I talked about these two teams, and then one of them's out in the first round because Louisville and Creighton play each other in round 1. I don't know how I forgot about that, but I did, and now it's reminding me of all the thoughts that I had flooded when I initially saw it, which is that's BS. So yeah, I talk about two teams that could be underdogs and Cinderella stories coming from the lower tier, and one of them's gone in the first round because they play each other. So my bad. Let me throw a couple more at you though before we stop, and then we'll move on. Where are they? Let me find them real quick. Bear with me here. I know they're in this tournament. There they are. McNeese State. The line that most people like to throw the upset on year in and year out. And I think it's like 50% of the time or just over 50%, something crazy. This is the upset. And it's the 5-12 matchup. And the 5-12 matchup that I like the most this year, that I see an upset brewing, is Purdue and McNeese State. McNeese State is not new to the tournament. I won't say they're in and year out, but they're fairly familiar with the process. And they usually play a very, very high level of up and down, fast-paced ball. And Purdue, coming from the Big Ten, likes to slow it down. They like to play more of a half-court game. And when you get those two matchups against each other, that's battle of wills. Which style is going to win out? And which style is the game going to be played at? And whoever can force their style upon the other more so is usually going to be the winner, right? In this case, I do believe McNeese State upsets Purdue in the first round. The other one that I was looking at a little bit is where did it go? It's I'm not even going to talk about that one because people will just get on me.
I'll tell you guys right now.
What?
Go put money on Arkansas.
Over your Kansas Jayhawks? Yeah, I've got that too.
Go ahead and take the money line. Plus 164. Thank me later.
Yeah. The other one I was going to talk about, though, and Robert actually mentioned this team already, is I had to look up who they were playing. I was drawing a blank. Colorado State and Memphis in the first round.
Colorado State, I feel like, is going to be a Cinderella situation.
So here's the kicker. I have them losing, but I'm not feeling good about it. And this is why. Memphis didn't necessarily end the year strong. And all their tough competition was built into the beginning of their schedule. But they ran through some top 10 teams to start the season and looked really good. And then as the season progressed, they kind of fumbled the ball a couple times in Conference USA, lost some games they shouldn't have, and then didn't even win their tournament. But they're so good they got in as a 5 seed. Colorado State upsets a couple times, walks through, and did they win the Mountain West or did they lose in the championship game? I'm drawing a blank now. I think they lost in the championship game. So they get in. They're playing great ball to end the season. The thing that Colorado State has, and I'm going to draw a blank on his name, so I apologize. I'm not going to take the time to look it up right now. But Colorado State has a transfer that showed up this year, and in one season is already being called by some the greatest Colorado State basketball player of all time because of what he accomplished in one season at that program. And if there's two things that can get you through the tournament and advance you a couple rounds, it's having one stud that can just go out and take over games, or it's having really insanely good guard play. Colorado State has the stud. So Memphis has some guard play. They're a good team. Like I said, I've got Memphis winning. But that was a 5-12 matchup I was looking at where, yeah, man, there could be some issues there. So keep those in mind. McNeese State, Colorado State, those might be some good 5-12s to look at as some runs being made.
Caleb, I'm going to throw this out.
Okay.
One of our great memories of the podcast from years ago. March of 22. And Pinky says if the Jayhawks win it all, he'll get a Jayhawk tattoo. And I'm telling you, throughout the whole tournament, I was still not stressing. They make the final, down 16. I'm at the bar with my buddy, and I'm like, I'm good, man. I don't have to get a tattoo. Jayhawks are going to lose in the finals like they have in the past. All right. Then they come back and win. Amazing.
Shouldn't have even made the finals. I shouldn't have even had you over to watch that game.
Yeah, baby. I made good money on that weekend, too. Got that tattoo. So I'm going to throw it out to Robert. Sparty tattoo. Spartans win the championship. They win it all.
If they get, I've had a Gruff Sparty tattoo on my plans forever. So, if it happens, yes.
If they win it all, Spartans tattoo.
You heard it here first, folks. Yes. Michigan State tattoo happening if they win the tourney, baby. Let's go.
All right, there you go.
It'll go on the opposite chest. It'll go right here.
Perfect.
Go right here.
Next to the Stormtrooper?
Yeah, Sparty mascot on one side, Stormtrooper on the other. That's,
let's be.
Your ladies will know exactly what they're getting into.
How do you not destroy things with that on your chest?
Hey, you're approaching a Spartan trooper here, baby. Like,
Facts.
These are the people that hit the front lines.
I can't even hate on that, man. That's awesome.
Pretty solid.
Damn straight, baby.
Last thing I will say about the tournament. Check us out on social medias. You will find a link to come join us for a bragging rights bracket. We're not giving money away. We're not doing whiskey or anything like that. bragging rights. We'll call you the champ. You can come on here after the tournament if you want. We'll invite you on to spread the good word if you want. Come join us, though. Have some fun, bragging rights, talk some smack. The link is on socials. It is through Sleeper. Should be a lot of fun.
Please come make a bracket. I think we're still at the point. Eventually, it'd be cool if we could give a bottle of whiskey to anybody who wins. We're not there yet, but whenever we get sponsored, guys, we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll start doing more. Sticking with basketball, moving into the NBA. I've got 2 topics I said I wanted to discuss tonight about the NBA. The first is the Lakers and Austin Reeves. I did not believe Luka and Bron would be able to be dangerous this year. I said long term it could work out. But this year I didn't see it. I was wrong. If they are healthy going into the playoffs, I don't care what anybody says, they should be one of the favorites to win the title. And part of that is because Austin Reeves might be the best third star on a team right now in the league. I know, Pinky. I know it's not glamorous. It's not something you would normally hear. But if you watch the way he's been playing this season, and specifically the way he's been playing with LeBron out, the kid's balling.
But again, you said the key word, LeBron out. So
right, that's why I said the third star.
When LeBron's in there, Reeves has issues with consistency. He looks amazing one night, and the next night it's not quite there. He's like the Michael Porter of the Lakers. Like Michael Porter looks great one night, and then the next night you're like, what the hell happened? So
that's not an awful comparison. It's
just the consistency. But he's looked really great with LeBron out. He's put up a lot of good games. He's played well. I don't know why he's playing so well with LeBron out. Maybe it's because he takes that back seat when LeBron's in. Yeah, I get what you're putting down.
So just pay attention because they do have a legit third star. Now, they don't have a big that's worth anything. But if you're running Bron, Luka, and Austin Reeves out there on the perimeter, and you can go up and down the court, and you've got 3 guys who are good passers and 2 guys who are great passers, and then you've got guys around the perimeter that can knock down some shots. Look, say what you want, but Luka and Bron are probably 2 of the top 5 players in the league right now. You can debate that. They're definitely 2 of the top 10. I don't think that's debatable.
2 of the top 10, I would absolutely cheers. Yeah, for sure.
So cheers, sir. You got 2 of the top 10. You got arguably the best third star in the league. That goes a long way. And their chemistry developed way faster than I would have ever imagined. And that, look, say what you want, but that's kudos and props to LeBron and Luka. Because what that truly does is show their basketball IQ. It shows how high level they're able to think about the game in order for that to mesh as quickly as it did and seamlessly as it did. So, look, we're Nuggets fans, right? Lakers daddy. But I'm also trying to be as objective as possible because I just love sports. And I would be foolish to say the Lakers, fully healthy, aren't potentially the NBA champions.
Besides the last 2 weeks.
They played that well when they were all together.
Besides the last 2 weeks with Luka and LeBron out for injury, they have been playing really good basketball.
They went from like 8th to 2nd or 3rd at one point in the West.
They were second.
Really, really backed up and very close in the rankings, but they still made a big run and jump to the point where they're able to sit and have a chance to be anywhere from 2nd to 5th, most likely, which was not a thought before the Luka trade. It just wasn't. So love them or hate them, pay attention because the Lakers are dangerous. They are dangerous, and they could make a serious run come playoff time. And a lot of that is going to be because of Austin Reeves. So I want to give the dude his due. I've kind of always liked his game, the way he came into the league, was able to play alongside LeBron as a rookie, which is very abnormal with LeBron. I think that shows Austin Reeves' basketball IQ and his ability to be a sponge and soak up as much information as being given to him from one of the greatest basketball minds to ever play the game in LeBron. So, there's some really good teams playing right now. Yes, the national media always talks about the Lakers, but we like to give credit where credit's due, and they're a dangerous team right now, so people need to pay attention.
And plus, the refs always give them all the call. So then, in the playoffs, they're tough to beat in that way. So
absolutely. Now, here's the second, and we can go as long or as short as we need to. I'm just going to say my piece, and I'll let you two discuss or comment or whatever else you want to do. If we're going to talk about the MVP, let's get some common ground out of the way. Whether you're talking about the best player in the league or you're talking about the most valuable to their team, I don't care what your definition is one way or the other. You're going to use one of those two. When we start conversing and we have a debate about it, just let me know which one you're going to use, and we'll start from there. I'm good either way. The problem, though, is no matter which side you want to go, which avenue you want to roll down, which fork in the road you want to roll, both of those answers are Nikola Jokic. And this is why. He is top 5 in the league in 5 different categories. He is top 3 in the league in 3 categories: points, rebounds, assists. His team is in the top 4 in standings in the West. With him on the court, the Nuggets are one of the best plus-minus teams in NBA history. With him off the court, they are the worst plus-minus team in history. So we've got a guy, best player in the league, right? Has to be with where his numbers are this season. You cannot say somebody else in the league is better than Nikola Jokic based on stats. And I don't want to hear stat padding. You're going to come at me and talk about him stat padding. All you're saying to me is you do not watch him play. Because the way he gets triple-doubles and the way Russ got triple-doubles are not even similar. Watch the game. They're not the same. The other side of that, best player. Got all the stats to back that up. Best player. I don't want to hear SGA's averaging 4 more points a game. We'll just take away 2 of Jokic's assists. Add that to his point total. There's 4 points. He's now tied with SGA for points. He still beats him in rebounds and assists. And even taking away those 2 assists from Jokic, he's still top 3 in the league in assists. Okay? So there's the numbers. You want to talk about most valuable? Okay. Take SGA off of OKC. Take Jokic off of Denver. I just told you the plus-minus difference with Denver. Denver is struggling to make the playoffs without Jokic.
No, hold on.
OKC is still one of the top teams in the league without SGA.
Denver's a lottery team if Joker's not on the squad at this point.
So you want to tell me, and you want to just be honest and say, look, man, I like it when the MVP gets spread around. There's a lot of good players in the league. To me, it's not always necessarily the best player. It might be the guy who has the best season or this, that, the other. Best player on the best team. Okay. But let's just be honest about why you're voting for that guy. Because you're not voting for that guy because he's the most valuable, and you're not voting for that guy because he's the best in the league. So as long as you're willing to be honest about the conversation and the debate, and you're willing to truly state the actual reason you're voting for somebody other than Nikola Jokic, because it's not going to be best player or MVP, it's not going to be most valuable, it's not going to be stats, unless the only thing you care about is points per game.
Yeah, this isn't even a debate. And then the people that are still saying SGA, and again, it's just that there's a couple things in there. One, SGA is awesome, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Really good. Really good.
It's Joker's just on a whole nother level. And I feel like there's so many people that just don't understand. Oh, there we go. They don't understand. think some people just don't. I mean, Nuggets aren't on prime time all the time. Like one of the last games are on prime time. All the stars were out. 3 of the starters were out last night, so they didn't get to see Joker. And again, I feel like people aren't watching when they comment on this Joker SGA. Like they're watching SGA. They are the number 1 seed in the West. They're up by a lot. I don't think there's any way they don't win the one seed, right? But that just tells me like you either you don't know basketball that well, or you're not really watching, right? Your box score, you're watching the box score,
Right.
and if you're watching the box score, I don't see how you don't look at the box score and be like, holy shit, did Joker have a 30-20-20 game? Like, are we what? Like, it's insane, and I know it's fatigue, right?
I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to. Pinky, you're right. Yes, it gets talked about, but what a shitty argument.
Well, and can we also just say maybe it's because Joker's white? I mean, is that a thing?
I won't play the race. What I will say though is I think there is a level of unathleticism that pushes the debate in SGA's.
I mean, we've talked about that. Joker is the dude the old white guy that shows up at the court with sweats on and a headband and looks goofy as hell, and you're like, yeah, that guy can't ball, and then he just dominates you, and there's nothing you can do. And he's like, that shouldn't work, but it does. And then you get done, and you're just like, hey, man, awesome job. Like, you know.
It's absurd. It's absurd. And the thing that I think blows my mind the most is I cannot even count the number of times that you hear somebody go week to week, national media, Stephen A. Smith, I don't care, they're all doing it. Jokic just did something historic that's never been done in the NBA before. Wilt didn't do it. Shaq didn't do it. Bird didn't do it. Magic didn't do it. Jordan didn't do it. On and on and on. And they give him all these flowers for being so insanely good and doing things that have never been done before. And then in the very next breath, they go, SGA's the MVP. SGA ain't doing anything this year that we've never seen before. He's not having a historic season for a point guard or a shooting guard or a small forward or a power forward or a center. He's doing nothing historic this year. But on a weekly basis, people are bringing up something that Jokic did that's never been done in the league before. Wilt didn't do it. Duncan didn't do it. Hakeem didn't do it. And then they have to stop comparing him to centers, and they have to start going to all-time greats. Bird, Magic, Jordan. They didn't do it either. We are watching a player right now, I believe this year is the first true year of Nikola Jokic's true prime. And we get this for another 3 years, in my opinion. That's what I'm looking at right now. That's how good he is. And we're talking about it on a historic level, and you're telling me somebody else is MVP. Dude, this is not a homer take. I'm sorry, it's not. I love the game. If you know me, if you've ever talked to me, ask Pinky, because he's told me to shut up plenty. I will argue against my own team if I believe it's true, because I just love the game. I want to see the best for the game. I want to see it grow. I want to see it flourish. And when you diminish certain things that certain players are doing, you're bringing down the game as a whole.
Yeah, you just can't talk, and you make the greatest point there. You cannot talk about how great, like all the all-time great things that Joker's doing, and then be like the next segment, oh, but SGA is the MVP, and you just can't do it. And it's points per game. Just because you lead the league in points per game does not mean you're MVP.
Well, and his team's the 1 seed. I do believe that does matter a little bit in the MVP race. I do. But again, Jokic won his first MVP and the Nuggets were a 6 seed. Because everybody realized if he wasn't on that team, they would have had the first overall pick. They wouldn't have even been in the playoffs. So they gave credit where credit's due.
No.
They said that is the best player in the league, and he probably is the
That-
most valuable.
That
But
first
this year,
MVP,
for some reason, this year they're not using that criteria for some reason.
and that first MVP of SGA was doing what he's doing. I don't know if he was at his point yet where he was doing what he's doing. If he wasn't doing what he was doing now, he would have won MVP that year for sure. Yeah. The second year, Embiid got hurt, and that just kind of led Joker to get it because I think Embiid would have got it that second year if he hadn't gotten hurt. And then the third year, Joker would have got it. I feel like if he hadn't taken 2 weeks off to just relax because we were the 1 seed. And,
He got tired of hearing everybody talk about him and Embiid, and he said, "I'm out. I'm done."
Well, he needed some rest, and it didn't matter to him. Like MVP doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care. The
No,
job
and then
is
what
winning
happened after that?
basketball games.
What happened after that, Pinky? Oh,
Winning a
Jokic can't
championship.
be the MVP. No way we can give him 3 times. He doesn't even have a championship. Blah, blah, blah. 3 in a row. Only Bird did that. This, that. Oh, I'm just going to. Okay, cool. So we're going to go win the NBA Finals. I'm going to be the Finals MVP. I'm going to go on a historic run through the playoffs, and I'll just take that MVP instead.
Right.
All right, cool.
And that's what he did, and he was more than happy about it. So, yeah.
And again,
I hate
ladies
that
and
it's
gentlemen,
still-
please understand, this is no hate against SGA. Notice how I gave you none of SGA stats other than his points per game.
The fact
Because
of the matter
I'm not
is
trying
when
to
you
put
look
this
at-
dude down. He's having a
Well-
phenomenal season. He is one of the best two-way guards in the game. But we are not talking about him week to week doing something historic.
And
Go ahead,
what I want
Robert.
to mention is that the fact when you look at it stat-wise, I mean, Jokic is putting up better numbers than previous years.
Yeah.
So the fact that this isn't even a conversation is absolutely ridiculous. And
Yeah, he's literally having his best
unfortunately,
season of his career this year.
when being numbers guys that the way we are, when you look at it tangibly, not out of any favoritism or who's coming from what or what, yeah, this person's doing 30 times better than they were before. It doesn't matter. When you look at a tangible stat about what is being done and you're overlooking it, problems. Because now you are setting a unnecessary precedence going forward for not only just future generations, but in the short term of 5 years. You've now changed the voting and how people look at the award and how you present it. And that's a problem.
Well stated. Well stated. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Robert.
Last thing I'll say is twofold. And this is going to come off super homery, and I don't care. Probably shouldn't have worn the hat tonight, Pinky, because nobody's going to take it seriously. Is what it is. But one of my favorite quotes from this NBA season just happened to come from Mike Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets. And paraphrasing, he basically said, you put these two dudes' stats up on a wall and you say player A and player B. You don't say what teams they play for. You don't say their names. You just give their stats and their team records. And anybody that says they're not picking Nikola Jokic at the end is out of their minds. I won't say what he said, but he said, out of your minds. There's no way you're telling the truth. I have a hard time disagreeing with that. Real hard time disagreeing with that. Right? So there's I said the year Embiid won over Jokic. I didn't hate it. Embiid had an insanely good year. Philly was rolling. But I said there were some intangibles there about Embiid that I didn't feel like he should get the edge over Jokic.
And, well, what
that's
happened?
been kind of proven out over the last couple of years, I would say.
What did Embiid do in Game 7 that year? Laid a turd. Game 7, you need it. The best player in the league should dominate. He laid a freaking turd. So
It was rough.
That's what we get. Joker's the MVP. Everybody can hate on it. It's a fact. If he doesn't win, that's fine. But we all know the truth. We know even like if Joker doesn't sit out those 2 weeks, he wins that one against Embiid because it was neck and neck
Probably.
already.
Probably.
So But Joker got the better trophy. So
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. So, you know what? Call us homers all you want. I'm good with that. I don't care. Because you will find, if you listen to us enough, I believe I'm pretty objective when it comes to the NBA.
Look, I'm rooting for the Thunder to win. I don't think the Nuggets will win this year. I'm rooting for the Thunder because
No chance.
God,
Injuries are killing us.
how insufferable Lakers fans will be if they win. Insufferable. So I'm rooting for the Thunder. Let's go.
Health will be
They've never won one.
Health will be a factor, but if the Nuggets go into the playoffs healthy and they don't get Minnesota in the first round,
well, if we get playoff Jamal, we might be all right.
I just don't want to see Minnesota in the first round. We might be the Lakers, Daddy, but Minnesota might have our number. I don't think it's written in stone yet the same way as us and the Lakers. Us and the Lakers. As the Nuggets and the Lakers. But, I mean, Nuggets up 20. They should have won Game 7 last year, and they blew the lead. No legs. Minnesota is specifically built to beat the Nuggets. Conley said it. So that one worries me. And the way the matchups are falling right now, that's a very real possibility for them.
They're not built to beat anybody else, but they'll beat the.
Yeah, go figure. So we'll be discussing a lot more NBA because the season's starting to wrap up. NFL's slowing down. The only reason we didn't talk about a lot more this week is because the tourney's going down, and you got to talk about the tourney. And then we're gonna have to talk about the tourney next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. But as teams lessen, and we can focus more on just one or two topics, NBA can come up a little bit more. So that's the NBA. Robert, I need a little F1 discussion with you right now. We're going to roll through an NFL topic, and then we need to get some nonsense, my guy. So
Right.
knowing,
F1.
let me set the stage real quick. I apologize. Let me set the stage for us. Over the last 5 years, I'll say, I have really started to get into motorsports, specifically NASCAR and F1. Really trying to learn more about them. Truly watch and learn rather than just have it on in the background and try to understand. It's been casual, I would say, up until last year. And then last year, I really started to get into it. There's just so many things that interest me, and I finally decided it was time to dive in a little deeper, and I did. And I'm glad I did. Fast forward to the start of this F1 season, Robert and I get to talking, and unbeknownst to me, he was feeling the same way. Something about motorsports was kind of pulling him in. Now, he doesn't really have a lot of interest in NASCAR at this time, and that's fine. No big deal.
So I'll give context.
But he's feeling F1 right now. He's feeling it a lot the same way I am, and we both are, how should I say, young love, if you will, puppy love in a way where we don't know any better, but we're really enjoying what we're seeing right now and the ability to soak up as much information as knowledge as we can. So the F1 season kicked off on Sunday for us Saturday night down in Australia with the Grand Prix. And, 10 o'clock it starts here. It ended at about 12:30 in the morning. But Robert and I were messaging back and forth rapidly throughout the whole thing. And I would say the first, I don't know, there's 57 laps or something like that. And the first 47 were just guys going around the track with some rain. So there was some things going on, but nothing
going around the track.
Right, nothing crazy per se. It was status quo, if you will, the first 47 laps.
That whole rate. Did you listen?
But then the last 10 laps, all of a sudden,
nuts.
Those last 10, things went bonkers in a hurry. So with that set up, Robert, jump in here, my guy. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? After the first race, what are our thoughts?
So first off, so for those that are not familiar with F1, this is pure instinct. And Caleb, I'm sorry that I haven't I haven't done it, and I will make it a point to do it. I will log in to Facebook tomorrow to do this. But I sent this video to us privately, and I should have posted it publicly, was what the racers actually see. And now, as us casual highway 9-to-5 drivers, that blowback is from rain is a bit annoying. This is your job. Millions of dollars on the line, and you can't see crap.
You also are doing a $120 on average rather than 30.
Not to mention these pole position. I mean, and Pinky, I don't know your F1 experience, but Caleb had the best description of it today, and I love chess, so this was a very accurate conversation for he and I, is that F1 is a chess match. And while you may take a position, that position's not set, and that is at any point up for grabs. And it is very clearly demonstrated with who I'm personally following, just with my history, with AMG, with Kimi. He started in 16th and finished in, I think it was 4th or 5th after the, which I'm still quite
and
trying to
Kimi
understand.
Ancelotti, is that, am I getting the name right? Kimi Ancelotti, I believe.
No, Antolini is his name.
Rookie.
He's 18. He's one of the youngest F1 racers in the world ever. Period. I think he's the third youngest, if I have my facts straight.
I believe you're right. Third youngest to obtain a point within his first race.
He's 18 years old. 6 months or something crazy. And took like 4th or 5th position. And there was an overruling in his favor that put the AMG team in.
There was actually a ruling
standing.
that bumped him down, I think,
And
out of
then
points
brought-
possibly.
no,
and
and
then
then
they
it brought
more
him back
information
up.
came to light the day after the race, I believe, and they're like, "Oh, actually, wrong. You did finish 4th," which is another crazy thing that I'm still trying to learn and wrap my head around. The fact that the race can be over, and a day or two later they can rechange the final standings based on their rules and regulations and things of that nature, through penalties and whatnot. So as somebody who's very new to this, there's a lot to learn. They kept throwing around a term, and I'm going to draw a blank on it, but it was like, what was it, Robert? They call it like the DCR or something like that, where you could close the wing, which would allow you to actually gain more speed if you're within a second of the guy in front of you.
Time out. So, yes, that was a very big topic of conversation. However, what I have come in my very, very brief time of being an F1 racer, the FIA is on top of their shit. And I ask for forgiveness in saying that, because the FIA has come out, and from my understanding, and I'll need to do a little bit of fact checking myself on this, but that additional wing behind the pilot's head that you're referring to, Caleb, was at Melbourne given a 0.5 millimeter flow, which is in while we're American, millimeters is a pretty big flex.
Anything you do on those cars, anything you do to adjust anything, it doesn't matter how minute that movement is, has a drastic effect on the overall car's performance.
And that movement has been dramatically changed in the last 24 hours. That movement has gone from 0.5 millimeters to 0.2, specifically impacting McLaren and my team Mercedes. This is a big deal because that influx of power, specifically right now, from what I'm seeing, from the younger generations using that power to progress and overtake your turns, this is going to be a big deal. And this actually, Caleb, which I know you noticed and we had talked about it earlier, was a big issue for Ferrari this weekend. Ferrari's main engineer kept getting into the comms and saying use K1, which K1 is a boost for Ferrari. I don't know if it's exclusive to Ferrari or if it's applicable to the other teams, but this is a very Ferrari feature.
My understanding, Robert, and again, we'll both have to research this because we're very new, but my understanding is it's a engine setting within their parameters that they're able to go between with
that launch.
Exactly. It's something that changes some of the dynamics within the powertrain of that car. And Lewis Hamilton didn't like being told when to do things.
Leave it to me. And Lewis Hamilton, which real quick, I'm going to segue on this because this is what sportsmanship is about. This is what the three of us preach about on our podcast. Caleb and I have been speaking about the conditions. These were conditions that on any given road, if you were to hit it, you're going to slide unless you knew what you are trained to do. And and I know his first name is Isaac. I forget his last name. But this racer, it was his debut.
Rookie.
This was his
first race.
Rookie debut in the Grand Prix F1 racing. Spun out in the lineup because
crashed
of the road
on the
conditions.
formation lap.
And then the Hamilton father consoled him, understanding what this is.
Take it a step further. I don't know if it's his. I can't remember who it is now. Again, we're very new to F1. We apologize. We're not trying to provide misinformation or act like we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what we're talking about. We're new fans. We're just excited to try to get into the sport. But somebody from Isaac's team, I believe it was, one of the higher-ups, basically said him crying was embarrassing. But then you have someone from off his team and Lewis Hamilton's father coming up and consoling him and basically telling him, it's okay. Basically, shit happens. You're going to get through this. You are one of the best drivers in the world. That's why you're in F1. There are only 20 of these spots. Think about that. There are only 20 drivers in F1.
If we really want to contextualize this, and there is no better way, I think, to bring back the topic that we had spoke about is Mercedes' team right now consists of an 18-year-old, barely adolescent. He can't even rent a car. Okay?
Well, in the United States, he can.
No, period. That is, I believe, and I could be mistaken, that is international. You can't rent a car, period, unless you're 25. Max Verstappen has been on record saying that you can't even rent a car because you're not 25. So for this gentleman to come in and race for Mercedes and then this other rookie to have spun out, this season itself is going to be pretty monumental for that alone because there are so many rookies.
Didn't they say something like 6 or 7 of the drivers in the field were all first year or newer or switching?
4 or 5.
Yeah, it was something crazy.
I was thinking 4 or 5. It was a ridiculous number, but when you look at that contextually, Hamilton moved on from AMG, went to Ferrari, which opened up that spot, which, while Caleb and I are getting into this, the fact that is happening is monumental because that is almost a Tom Brady type situation being put in the game and becoming the GOAT. This is a very similar trajectory for a lot of these drivers. But this sport has been in place for longer than football, and this has more merit because there is so much cutthroatness to it. And for F1 to be building off of this, and for Mercedes to be in, Caleb, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're in the leading point. They're not in the leading point, but they're up there in the top 3 to 4 of points so far in the first race before we even go to China, which is a very big deal.
The winner being Lando and McLaren, I think it's something like 25 points they get as the winner. So, regardless of if two other team or if another team gets both of their drivers in that top Is it the top 10 score points, Robert? I believe it's the top 10, and the 10th place gets 1 point.
I'm gonna give a little bit of education here real fast, because Caleb, you and I are both new to this. There are new point structures that went in place, I think it was either this year or last year, for the very first few races, to where you gain extra points. There's like a multiplier or something of that nature. But it's a very big deal to win these points in the first few races. So for McLaren, Mercedes, and I can't remember the other team, and I apologize, but this is a very substantial situation to be put into with what happened, because there were 4 or 5 spun outs, not even finished races of teams this weekend because of the weather. And then when we go to China, this is going to be a totally different aspect. And I think Caleb and I's biggest conversation topic was the change of tires, because Ferrari changed, and then Red Bull didn't change, and then Mercedes didn't change, and then everybody's scrambling. Ferrari ended up getting first and second, pitted, dropped to 9th and 10th. That is how quick things change.
I never knew.
It's
I knew tires were a big deal. Like I knew
massive.
If somebody's on fresh tires versus 30, 40 lap tires, there's a difference. I get that. But now I've got this whole other thing I'm learning about, which is hard, medium, soft, basically, like medium, hard, like, yeah, I got to learn all this, because there was a huge difference, because Verstappen went out on medium, I'll say for now, because I'm still trying to learn these terms, and was in the lead, and somebody else went off on hard, and they're like, it's going to take longer for those tires to warm up. Couple laps, this, that, and the other. Can Verstappen hold off? And he was like way up. I'm like, what are you talking about? This dude's about to win the race. And then all of a sudden, Verstappen comes in and pits. And he's like, we got to get rid of these tires, because I'm about to get lapped next lap. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, for them to understand that I am losing time every lap now because of the tire choice, we have to. If I don't come in now and lose a couple spots to change tires, I'm going to lose even more spots if I stay out on the track. Like, that's a whole nother level. NASCAR, I'm used to just, I'm going to get a tire change. Everybody's running the same ones. F1, they got like 3 different sets they can choose from. I had no idea, and it's a huge deal. So that is where those last 10 laps went nuts, because the track kind of dried up. All of a sudden, there was some jostling for position because it was time for pits. Tire choice became a big deal, because 2 laps after the majority of the leaders pitted, the rain hit again, and it hit hard. And those tire choices became all the difference in those last 10 laps. And teams had to pit multiple times from that first pit to the end of the race because of tire choices. And then the whole field changed multiple times within those last 10 laps. And it was insanely exciting. The only complaint I would have is at one point there was like 3 lead changes, and the camera was just focused on a wreck. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you're watching the running order on the left-hand side of the screen, and it's flipping all over the place. But the camera's not cutting to the race, so you don't get to see what's happening. So that was a little bit of a bummer. But outside of that, great way to start the season, Robert, from a casual as us.
So, all right. Now, this is where I take what you see and probably go a little further. So I got off of... I've been having that lust for F1 for a while. My best friend has had that attachment to it with the Drive to Survive series on Netflix, which is equitable to the what is it, Hard Knocks for NFL, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, cool.
This is really getting into where I come from movies and shows. I have friends that are on the committee to vote for these for Emmys, so I get a lot of these like, hey, watch this before it even happens type situation. So getting that exposure to it and watching this has been there, and finally watching it and quantifying where this is coming from multiple media sources this by far was one of the most chaotic and exciting starts to F1 racing because of the new blood, what's happened, the changes in drivers, the changes to committees. It's been incredible. I mean, you've had one of the most prestigious racers transfer for from what I can gather, no reason. Kind of like when Tiger Woods changed his caddy back in the early 2000s.
From what I've understood, Hamilton was not happy with the direction of AMG. They were not listening to him with car changes and choices that he wanted to see implemented. And it became we were no longer seeing eye to eye, and this was a beneficial parting of ways.
And when you listen to the Ferrari Hamilton talkbacks, it is even worse.
It's odd.
What AMG, because you're sitting there, and I mean, it's not just Hamilton. It is not just him. It is his partner as well, which for Formula One people, or for new Formula One people, I should say, you're a team. So there are points to be given as an individual, but your team is winning points.
Yeah, it's an odd contradiction because it's an individual sport with team aspects, which is pretty wild. But again, it's what makes it unique and interesting at the same time.
Which going forward, because and again, I am happy. Please, for the internet warriors, keyboard warriors out there, correct me on this. The FIA has been probably one of the most organized and efficient committees of a sports program.
I've heard a lot of controversy about the FIA over the last couple of years with me just learning about this. I know there was a big issue. I think it was one of the first years I got into it where Hamilton probably a lot of people felt should have won the points lead, but there was a decision on like the last lap of the last race of the season that ended up giving Verstappen the crown. And it was a big controversy that I still don't quite understand because I'm still learning. So there's a lot. And we're excited. Can't wait for Shanghai next week. And Robert and I are going to start learning and seeing how things progress.
Yeah, 1 a.m., baby, on Sunday. Fuck.
Yeah. So that's our F1 for the week.
Look, I like F1. But at this moment, I probably don't have the capacity to get into it.
It's not that you don't
at this
have
time.
The capacity, Pinky. It's just that I think that for you personally, you have so much going on outside of this that the time to it is just not there. Because you watch wrestling, you handle the NFL, and a little NBA. Unfortunately, these are one of the things that you might just have to rely on.
And when my friends like, you need to finish Invincible, and I finish Invincible, like, you know,
do you
I do what I'm
remember that
told.
deal, by the way? What was
Hey, I
that
did
deal?
it, man. I did it.
Barely.
I got it done.
All right.
Doesn't matter
We're
how
not
long.
there,
I got
we're
it
not there
done.
yet. We're not there yet. We're not at
We're
nonsense.
done. We're done. Here's the deal. We've got 12 minutes left. So, Pinky, Robert, here's
Hold
listen,
on.
here's our options. We can finish with NFL,
Nah, we're gonna do nonsense.
or we can do a very abbreviated version of nonsense. Or we can do NFL and extend nonsense next week, do no football talk next week, slight F1, March Madness, and do an extended nonsense next week.
Pinky's
What do we
lost
feel is
without-
the best option?
Pinky's lost without football talk, so we may as well just
Look,
get a few minute
Look,
minutes.
all right. Look, I'm going to ask our viewer who's asking questions right now. I'm going to answer this question, then we're moving right into nonsense. I'm going to do my portion, and then I'm going to hand it off to Robert.
No,
Jack-
hey, I just told you we don't have time to do both. If
No,
we
he's
don't
gonna
have
finish
time,
his-
we're gonna sell one of them short. And I don't
Hold
want to do that.
10 minutes
I've-
is fine.
I've got to talk. I've got to talk at least 2 minutes on John Cena. Okay.
Okay.
He's fine. He's fine.
Let's
Give
throw
him-
out the
give
NFL
his
topic
time.
because it's quick and easy. It's just a fun little conversation piece that people could pass around the coffee table, and then I'll let you do Cena,
No.
and we'll do an extended nonsense next week.
I'm just responding to Jack. Jack, probably Mundingus. I don't hate the Raiders as much since they moved to Vegas. Vegas is like my town. I love Vegas. I've been to the Raiders Stadium twice. I've taken a tour. I've been to the Super Bowl in Vegas. It's a great stadium. I feel like their fans deserve better from their ownership. And I feel like Mark Davis just kind of sucks as an owner. But, I don't hate them as much as I maybe used to. They've sucked for so long. It's hard to hate them. All right. The other question from our listener, Jack, you can't see me.
No, we got an NFL topic to discuss before you jump in.
We don't. We're going on.
Yes, we do. Stop.
No.
That was not the options, Pinky. Easy. You will get your Cena conversation. We have to mention it because I think it's a fun topic to kind of set the stage for as we move towards the draft.
We're just going to have a long show tonight. This is what it is.
This is the first time in the modern NFL, the modern draft era, I should say.
This is a very good topic.
The first time in the modern draft era that every team has owned their first round pick to start the new league year, which is wild. It's wild that has never happened. So as of right now, everybody in the NFL owns their first round pick. And I think that is going to be wildly interesting as we move forward towards draft season and the chaos that could possibly ensue because of it. So keep that in the back of your minds for things to come as the weeks progress, because it will be something we discuss more. Pinky, the last 9 minutes are for you, good sir, and your hat.
Well, I mean, we need time for Robert, but because he was so excited, we have to give Robert some time.
Did you not?
He's okay, Caleb. It's going to be a long episode. It happens. It's fine.
If it goes longer than 9 minutes, I'm
hour
okay
and
with
30 is what we're doing now. That is it. We're done.
Okay.
Hour 30, guys. We're serious about this now. We're not changing, because if we change, we're going back to 2.5 hour
Pinky,
episodes.
Go through 3 minutes. Go through 5 minutes. I'll finish with 4. I can wrap up.
I'll give you most of it. Jack, this is a John Cena hat. You can't see me. That's his catchphrase. It's a wrestling thing. I'm a big John Cena fan, and I'm I'm a big wrestling guy. I love it. I'm enjoying everything they're doing right now.
Yes,
so,
it's just casually sitting on the side.
Just got it. The champ is always here, boys.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Well done. Caleb, I don't know if we could do any better than that personally, but
that was solid. Pinky.
That was solid.
So casually, just slides onto his shoulder. Bravo.
I mean, that's what the champ does. So, I mean,
hey,
that's
look,
Pinky's
it
realm.
sat here. I stole it. I would have not been that smooth. That was.
That was
well played.
Chef's kiss. Well done, Pinky. I think that's it for you there. So I guess nonsense here. Very briefly, Pinky, you finished Invincible.
I did.
And just to put this to context for you, because I know you're not a big comic person, that final episode lifted the pages from
the last 2 episodes were fantastic.
They were lifted. I mean, to the letter. Outside of Conquest's little heart in outer space that was added, everything else was from the comics. And and Caleb, you'll love this, because this is definitely a hot take for sports nonsense and whiskey. One of the biggest critic reviews of anything nerd is IGN. IGN gave this season an epic, horrible review because of where it's taking, which in the context of these comics is telling it verbatim. And this was the showdown between Negan and Glenn of Walking Dead from the same creator, Robert Kirkman. This entire series gave the ultimate premise of what Invincible will become and why Invincible is who he is.
So pause right there. Look, I backed off of Invincible. I might have to get back into it because I hate starting something and not finishing it, but it did not catch my attention. However, everything I was seeing today was talking about how this is like one of the season finale for Invincible was one of like the 3 best episodes in
It is the
like
highest
in
rated
TV history.
TV episode on IMDb, comparing itself to the Clone Wars series finale, Game of Thrones season finale, and Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it was 3rd in the list I saw. It wasn't a perfect 10. A couple of them had a perfect 10.
It's a 9.7 or 9.9 right now, but it is up there with
It's damn good.
Thousands. Tens of
Damn good.
thousands.
So between my own hate of having something lingering out there and not finished, and how much I hate that, even though I don't like the series, and then the fact that everybody's talking about how good the season finale was, I will probably find myself catching up.
So, Caleb, let me put it to you this way. What this series explores that a lot of other comics don't is what it actually means to make that decision. And for Mark, it's the matter of life and death and who he becomes. This season has him confront the decisions he didn't make that he thought he did and builds on it.
Really good stuff.
Season 2 was not good. The pacing was off. When they cut it up into 2 parts, it was awful. This season, from episode 1 to episode 8, are unparalleled. And
I don't
episode,
like the splitting. If you only have 8 episodes, I don't need you to split it.
And my favorite episode, and honestly of the entire series thus far, because it really drives home the point, and Pinky, you and I don't quite see that, and that's okay, was the episode with Powerplex, and Aaron Paul being the guest voice as the villain. There's a lot to unpack there that I don't think we haven't really talked about, Pinky. That is just, it sets that course for Mark. And then the last little bit that I have to say is Mickey 17 with Robert Pattinson was not my favorite.
Caleb, you gotta mute your mic, bro. Your typing is crazy loud.
Deal with it.
Mickey 17, excuse me. It gets a B-. It wasn't very different from any other sci-fi I've seen.
Were you entertained?
No. I actually,
okay.
I to be honest with you, wanted to walk out of the theater.
Wow.
And I don't have that opinion very often.
Yeah, so, that's a big deal.
So where I'm coming from on this is, as Pinky said, was I entertained? I go to the movies to be entertained. I don't take these political standpoints in movies very lightly, and it very much bothers me when I try to escape the real world. And I'm calling him out on this very specifically because it is very apparent when you go and see this movie, whether or not wherever you fall on the political spectrum, it doesn't have any place for me in a movie. Mark Ruffalo tries his best Trump impersonation, and I just can't stand for it.
What movie
Mark
is this?
Ruffalo,
this is the
Mickey 17
Robert Pattinson movie that just came out, and this was the director that just won Best Picture 2 years ago for Parasite. And
yeah, I never saw that, so
I haven't either, and I really want to. However, I don't really care about politics or anything outside of the world, to be honest, just because politics are going to be politics anyway. It really ruined the movie for me. I thought it was I thought the premise was at least smart, but that really brought me out of it, and I have never come close to walking out of a movie before, I think, as close as that, and it was really disappointing. I know other people have said that they have enjoyed it, and it is reviewing critically very well. But for me, to be entertained and to come back to the real world, it didn't happen because Mark Ruffalo, I felt, tried overly hard for that, and it just didn't.
On a side note, I saw Novocaine with my son this weekend, and that was thoroughly enjoyable. As an action movie, don't take yourself too serious.
Pinky approved?
Oh, absolutely! It's so much fun.
I'm
It's so
excited
much
to
fun.
watch it.
Love
It is
it.
on my
It's-
list. I am sad I didn't get to go see it with you, Pinky. I do want to make sure that at least some point in time, at least once a month, we try to go see a blockbuster together. But this is on my list because Nerdness, he is now being cast as Max Payne, which, whew,
Ooh, that could be fun. This
sign
I will say
me
there
up,
were
baby.
there were moments in this movie that had me cringe, just because like he doesn't feel pain. The character himself, he doesn't feel pain. Like he's got an issue medically where he can't feel pain. That leads to all the kind of comedy of it. But then
Same
they
as the
do some
James
things
Bond evil character back in the day with Pierce
right.
Brosnan.
So they do some weird things with him where
Like that
it's like,
reference, Robert?
oh. So Pinky approved Novocaine.
Love it.
Sweet.
On that note, we are wrapping up for the evening. But I am saying now to hold mostly myself accountable for next week. At minimum, the last 30
Hour
minutes
30.
of next week are going to be nonsense because I know Robert's got a couple hard-hitting topics that we really want to discuss and could be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So we're going to make sure we leave room for that.
I've
And I
got
know Pinky
ammunition.
really wants to discuss the Cena heel turn, which we all do. So we got to make sure room's left for that. So at minimum, next week's episode, last 30, you're going to be nonsense at minimum. So
Sweet.
prepare for that. Sorry we couldn't get into it more. F1 went a little bit longer. You know how we do. We tend to get a little bit more passionate and start rolling into things, and then all of a sudden we think of something that we didn't think about before, and now we got to control ourselves a little better. We're working on it. We apologize. We're trying. On that note, do not ever miss out or lose the opportunity to share time with your inner circle, family, friends, whoever you consider that to be. Cherish those moments. Take advantage of them as often as you can. And, make sure the people around you know that you care. It doesn't hurt to say I love you. I love these two guys because they're my boys. I love anybody out there who's willing to converse with us on a mature adult level and not make it personal and just have a conversation. It's okay to disagree.
And
We
at
appreciate
1
all of you
a.m.
that support us in any shape, way, or form.
1 a.m. Sunday, Caleb and I will be on the sports page talking F1. If you are awake, talk with us.
On that note, appreciate all of you. Until next week, cheers. We're out.
Roast.